My first question to you is, where do you think we will go in the short term? We have the earnings season kicking in, starting later today stateside. There has been a lot of pressure on equities, both US and Europe. What do you think we'll get next week amid this recent volatility?
So it's the big question, Sylvia. Ultimately, I think more volatility is the answer. We've been up and down for the last week and a half, and it doesn't seem like there's any clear news that's going to send us one way or another. Our economist has already come out and said the market is a bit too optimistic about the announcement of the postponement of the tariff, that there's a lot of elements unsorted still. So I don't think there's a clear path from here. And you mentioned earnings season, which is going to be probably completely overshadowed by the tariff situation, unfortunately.
Yeah, the earnings season, the data as well. It seems that investors are mostly focused on what the White House is saying at this stage. But let me get your thoughts on some of the calls you've had recently. You've suggested that if investors are looking more insulated stocks at this stage, one of the stocks that you're recommending really is looking at Rheinmetall. I'm wondering here about the upside for Rheinmetall and other European defense stocks, given that we have seen such momentum really in this part of the sector. Why do you think this is likely to continue?
So, you mentioned insulated stocks, and it's very hard to find a place to hide in equity markets at the moment. Over the last week or so, everything's been taken down a peg. But it's our view that, particularly with defense stocks, that none of the events with regard to tariffs are really going to have a huge impact on that sector in general, that the valuations that have come down over the last week or so are just the market trying to discount equities generally, that the story, and we think it's more or less structural for the likes of Rheinmetall, is still there, is still present. That hasn't changed at all. And we've even boosted our valuations over the last month. So we think there's particularly strong upside with a lot of those names.
Michael, we know a lot of investors are going about portfolio reconstruction at this point. You made some comments in the last 24 hours about Novo Nordisk, and this is fascinating. We were just having a conversation about one of the biggest exports from Denmark, and this stock clearly one that investors have been closely watching. Your comment was that there could be 50-odd% upside from here, but we were just also talking about the fact that, look, we don't know if there are sector-specific tariffs coming for pharma. What do you do with a stock like this where you do see the potential for huge upside given the discounted nature of the stock now versus the challenge of getting through any tariff hurdle?
Yeah, so I think it's been Novo Nordisk has been one that we've been saying is for a long time has actually been overvalued, Karen. But lately with those market moves, and I checked it myself the other day, and I was in disbelief by how hard and fast that stock has fallen. It's come down from something like 960 down to 460 or so as of yesterday. And, we're at around 650 or so on our fair value estimate. So as you said, we think there's about 50% upside. Obviously, there's a number of risks there. They're still kind of going through various trials and seeing if their drugs will be, efficacy-wise will be greater or the same level as Eli Lilly. So there's some specific risks, certainly. And as you mentioned as well, there's still that tariff risk. It seemed nailed on and about earlier this week at about Monday or Tuesday that President Trump was going to hit pharma companies specifically with tariffs. But as you saw later in the week with that postponement of tariffs, everything's up in the air again. But ultimately, what it comes down to is a margin of safety. And we think with 50% upside or so with a stock, that gives you significant kind of room to play around. If everything doesn't go your way, there's still upside.